Welcome to another video, guys. Today we're gonna look at 5 of the best decks after the latest patch 1 week ago. The meta definitely shifted a lot, but I'm not sure it's actually too much better than what it used to be. It's definitely different, but not in a very great way. And even though there's plenty of decks to be playing with, one is an absolute outlier, and I'm pretty sure most of you already know which one. I'm also gonna give you all of the other best decks for each individual class, so you know what to be playing with, as well as know what to expect you're playing against, and you're gonna have a much better time climbing this way. If you find the video helpful, a like and a subscribe would really be appreciated, and do me a favor and actually check out if you're subscribed to the channel, because a lot of you thought you were and you actually weren't. So yeah, now let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
Before we get into the best decks, I'd like to remind you that if you ever wanted to support the stream for free, you can definitely check out Raid Shadow Legends for free through my premium download link and start Raid the right way with tons of extra amazing champions right out the get-go. You got 4 great champions just by using the link, and you're also gonna have 48 hours to use the promo code section for an extra amazing legendary champion. But not only that, now might be the perfect time for you to actually start Raid, because they just sent me something very mysterious and amazing, not gonna lie. They will be doing a super cool, huge collab with a globally known IP, and I gotta tell you, this one is really cool, like huge. I can't share the details just yet, but definitely check out my Raid Shadow Legends channel, and there you will get to see what I'm talking about. But keep in mind, this will be a time-limited event, so what are you waiting for? Download Raid from my premium download link and start Raid the right way, and join this huge new collab they're gonna be doing, and you're actually gonna get to see why I like Raid so much. But now, let's get into the best decks. And here are the 5 best decks, guys. Literally 2, 4, 6 decks at the top with over 1,000 games, and it's nothing but shamans. I'm not even kidding. Can't make this shit up. 62.5%, 1,000 games. Mid-range shamans. Look at this. Mid-range, mid-range. There we have something else. Mid-range, mid-range. It's kind of insane, not gonna lie. Like, shaman literally completely dominates the meta right now, both in number of games and in win rate. Like, every single shaman deck right now, as long as it has the mid-range package, is 58% plus with thousands upon thousands of games. Not even joking. And right now, this seems to be the best particular variant from Diamond to Legend at least. And it's running a couple of living flames, so you have a much better shot at actually fishing out your Flight of the Firehawk, and this also does fish out the other living flame more often than not. But you also have plenty of other tribes in here, like mechs, elementals, the bellhops, the murlocs, and so on and so forth. But yeah, if you think mid-range shaman is not gonna get nerfed really soon, thinking it's probably not your strong suit, and we definitely should be expecting to hear something about it, hopefully sooner rather than later, even though it might be at least 10 more days, so buckle up. What this deck does is they can either go super quick on the board with things like Bumbling Bellhop, or they can go for the late game and go with things like Elise, things like the Hagata, spells, as well as a big-ass Alakir at the end, which can literally OTK you with the help of Elise. I do have detailed guides about a few mid-range shaman decks, so definitely give those one a check, both with guides and gameplay, so you have a much better idea of how to play them. Here's what the matchups look like for this one, and yeah, there's no real bad ones, and you should be great against Protoss Mage, even though from experience it's not such an easy matchup. I'm not sure how these stats are this high for it, but apparently more often than not you should have a good time. Same can be said with Discover Hunter and Warriors. We could also check out the similar variant with 59% win rate, which is more than 3% lower than this one, but it definitely has the biggest sample size out there, so that is gonna give us a much better representation, so we can know what's a bad matchup for this one. And yes, Ravenous Cliff Dive Demon Hunter would be one of your best bets, and that is why this is also a list in this top 5. You can definitely spank these people quite easily with it. Bubble Pally can also do pretty good against them, but that's about it. Egg Warrior, if you manage to find one, also could be bad for shamans, but you don't usually see these too much. And also, I'm not sure why Egg Warrior would be that bad. Like, as long as you run hats in your list, you should be pretty good, even though this one didn't. For the mulligan, here's what we have going first. You want your Hagata, the Living Flame is great, Location, Turbulus, Murloc on one, Bird Watching, Flight of the Firehawk straight out, and if you're criving it to at least that also might be amazing. Pop-Up Book could be a keep, but in this list I don't think it makes much sense, because you're not even running the 2-drop that draws you a card. If you've played a nature spell, so I really wouldn't, and I wouldn't really hold on to Bumbling Bellhop a lot either. So yeah, usually that's about it. On the coin, again, we have Hagata at the top, Location, Living Flame, Turbulus. It's kind of the same deal, guys. For other good shaman decks, we really don't have anything much different, as I already showed you. It's just a bunch of these. I could also include the sparse data, and here we might see something like Elemental Shaman somewhere around here, but it's really gonna be in the lower segments. Yeah, we can see some rando Nature Shaman here. Asteroid Shaman, apparently people are still trying out. Pirate Shaman, not really good. So yeah, that's about it for the Shaman class. On the number 2 spot, Bubble Pally is another big winner out of the nerfs. nerfs, and it definitely does feel very fresh and great, even though now people might already be sick of it, but it definitely is a cool new deck you could be clapping with. And again, I do have a detailed guide about this one if you want to see it in detail, but the deck really is very fun to play and very different from what we're used to. As you saw, it does have a great matchup against mid-range shamans, so that's pretty good for it. And a cool thing I forgot to mention in the last video, I actually didn't know it's something you could be doing, but what you could be doing with this deck is on turn 5 you could stick yourself a Toref, and if this guy lives, and usually he does because he's so sticky, on the next turn you could go Carnivorous Cubicle and give it 1 Divine Brew, and that becomes basically an unkillable board for a lot of opponents unless they have Silence or Hex or something along those lines. That board ain't going nowhere, and honestly it does feel pretty disgusting, not gonna lie. We obviously also have Gelban of Tomorrow at the end, but we're not running the greedy package of auras in this one, only the really decent ones, none of that 7 mana crap, and we're also not running the 2 mana resistance aura that increase the mana cost for the opponents for a couple of turns. I don't know, that one did seem like it does make sense, but apparently it's cut out from this list, so yeah, check out the detailed guide if you want to hear more details. Matchup wise, here's what we have here. One of the bad matchups would be aggressive decks like Aggro Pally. Aggro Demon Hunter also slightly in favor, but nothing really that bad, and that's about it. Okay, I guess the Ring Priest also might be it, but yeah, all around you should have a pretty good time with this one, and like I said, you are going to be great against mid-range shamans. Going first, you're going to be looking for the Creature of Madness, for the Righteous Protector, a Weapon Infinite could be great, Tank Engineer, especially if you're curving into it, same with Elise. The Hard Ride Protector is an okay thing to be playing on too, it ain't the best, but it's something. Urson Maul can be good. I wouldn't really hold on to the Wisp, even though it could do something for you, but the main part why it's in here is basically for Elise activation. But if you time this Wisp correctly, you could do something like an extra Crusader aura if you already have a Righteous Protector to protect it, or you could even go for a turn 5 0 mana Wisp into a 5 mana Steed, that might also be pretty worth it. On the coin, again, we have plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. For other good Paladin decks, this is the one I'm showing you. Insane sample size, insane win rate. What the hell is this Handoff Pally, guys? Is this true? Is this deck really good again? Maybe it's worth checking out, I don't know, but it does look like it's an interesting deck you might want to be picking up again. Aggro Pally definitely is also a very proven list right now. People are still trying their best with Quest Pally, but honestly, it's not as good anymore. Lynessa Pally is trash, especially with the weapon nerf, and I have heard people say Imbue Pally might be okay. Stats do not support that claim. Next up, we also have Aggro Demon Hunter, and yeah, apparently the deck is still pretty good, especially if you manage to do something like a turn 3 or 4 Perennial Snake, or a big Ziliax, or a big Mukla even. The deck is pretty decent, pretty quick, it does pack quite a big punch, and usually how the games go is, in the first few turns you try to chip your opponent with a bunch of face damage from the board with all of your minions, and later on you can close out the game with acupunctures, with hot calls, with Zephyrus, that kind of stuff. You do actually have quite a lot of damage from hand, including the dangerous cliffside. Kane can help you go through, and with Arana you could even double up acupuncture, even though that really doesn't happen too often. Again, I do have a detailed guide about this one, so give it a check if you want to know how to play it. There's plenty of gameplay added too, so yeah, give it a check. Matchup wise, again, pretty populated stuff here. We can see that some of the Death Knights might not be great for you. Same can be said for Face Hunter, if you manage to find one, however. With mages you go toe to toe. Mid-range shaman is gonna be slightly unfavored, so there's that. Definitely not a great selling point, but everything else is green and the matchups are pretty quick, so there's that too. For the mulligan, early on you're trying to hold on to your good cheap minions. The Spirit of the Team can be great for a turn 2. The weapon is also pretty nice, even though for a turn 1 you'd much rather stick one of your good minions, and I'm talking about Battle Fiend or Sock Puppet. Slumbering Sprite is in here mainly to activate your Perennial Serpent, but in some cases it might also be worth it. A little bit of card draw with Grim Harvest ain't the worst, even though I'm not a huge fan. King Mukla if you're curving into it, same with Ziliax, heck, even with Perennial Snake, but for that one you do need some proper setup. If you do have the Perennial Snake, you could play the Grim Harvest on turn 3, and that might allow you going first. On the coin, again, try to get the good cheap stuff. Here the 3 and the 4 drops become even more powerful because you can drop them a turn early, and Slumbering Sprite becomes a bit better as well, same with Grim Harvest, because you have a better chance of dropping the Perennial Serpent earlier. And spot number 4 is for Ravenous Cliff Dive Demon Hunter, and the main selling point for this one is it's just so damn good against mid-range shamans, so why wouldn't you? This is a very cool new list I just gave you a guide about, and I gotta say the deck felt very well built, and it's very smart against so many matchups. Like with Broxigar, you could actually fuck up other Ravenous Cliff Demon Hunters because you are gonna give them Death Rattle minions that they could summon through Ravenous Fell Hunter, which would be pretty shit. You also could ruin some Resuscitates for priests, and not to mention you also get a lot of cycle thanks to the Axe of Cenarius, with which you could be killing portals or anything else, and that is gonna draw you you another portal, giving you extra cards. We also even have things like Elise in here, things like Ziliax, and also the Climbing Hook, and both Ziliax and Climbing Hook are in here because of activation for Elise. Same can be said for the portal, basically that's your 0 mana there. And with Elise you could be copying things like Eladaris, Ravenous Fellhunters, Blob of Thors even, but it comes down to the price point you pick for Elise. Like if you pick it for 1 mana, you'd be much happier going for a Cliff for Ravenous Fellhunter or for Blob of Thor. If you go for 5 or 10, you'd be much happier with an Eladari. Again, take a look at the guide if you really want to know how to play this one and also see it in action. For the matchups, not that much stats, but the important one is here, mid-range Shaman, nice and green. Quest Warrior also is going to be okay, and same can be said for Discover Hunter, even though it's a 50-50. When going first with this deck, you want to get some good card draw with Harvest, the weapons MVP. Straight out Portal is good as well because it's 0 mana, so you can straight out hero power it. Blob of Thor is also a keep, even if you already have a Tuskpiercer, I'd say. Wyvern Slumber is okay, you are going to be using it for a couple of minions in the early turns, when going first especially. Infestation can be great because it's 8 damage on a stick for opponent stuff. Elise can be amazing, and you definitely want Elise in your hand so you don't actually fish it out with things like Califero or with Cliff Dive. And even Axe of Cenarius might make some sense, even though it's not that hot. Ravenous Fellhunter could be a keep, especially if you already have a Tuskpiercer or the Blob of Thor. If you have both, however, don't keep a Ravenous. On the coin, we have plenty of the same stuff. Try to get your good Death Rattle action going, try to get your card draw, and you should be climbing with ease. Here's the rest of the Demon Hunter lists out there right now. Peddler Demon Hunter still ain't no joke, but this one has a very small sample size. Here's the Aggro Demon Hunter I showed you, and here's the Ravenous I showed you. There is also the OG Ravenous, which is doing just as fine if we gotta be completely honest, but if you face this deck with this deck, you're gonna have a much better time with this one, I can tell you that much. We can scroll further down to see anything else. There's a big Demon Hunter out there, and I even saw this thing doing really well in Top Legend, which is kinda interesting. Peddler Demon Hunter definitely is still pretty worth it, but the rest is just iterations of those. No Minion Demon Hunter is not good. And the last deck on the list is actually gonna be Dragon Warrior, and I know you are expecting to see things like Discover Hunter, Quest Warrior, and that kind of stuff, heck even Protoss Mage, but you are gonna see that those decks actually don't have as big a win rate from Diamond to Legend at least, even though they're amazing decks. They actually do not make the cut because this one has more sample size and more win rate than most of those. And same can be said for the other decks on this list. Anyway, what is this Dragon Warrior looking like? Well, pretty much the same as it used to look like, even before the nerfs came, so you already should know what you should be doing with this one. You have a lot of good early game with your dragons, with your Enrage package. The interesting thing here is we are running a couple of Illusory Green Wings, as well as a Dream Planner Zephrys. We also have a single copy of Silence in here, with which you could get through some big men, or just deny some big opportunities for mid-range Shaman, for one Somdies, that kind of stuff. The Stadium Announcer could be great, destroying the opponent's weapon if he's having something important. And also the Blood Fighters are pretty good in here, and they're just a great win condition on their own. Again, plenty of detailed guides about this one on my channel, give those a check, but now let's see what the updated matchups are looking like. And we can see Ravenous Cliff Demon Hunter is going to be insanely good against you. Some of the Death Knights would be a 50-50. The important matchup here is mid-range Shaman, and you're actually not that great against it, so that's a big no-no. But everything else is very green, except for Protoss Priest if you manage to find many of those. Mulligan-wise, here's what we have. The Gift Wrap Whelp on turn 1, or Dark Rider as well. Battle Peddler, especially if you already have a 1-drop dragon. Brute Keeper is a keeper indeed. Stone Carver, especially if you have location for one, or another 1-drop. The Shadow Flame Sufficient is actually not a card I saw in older lists, at least not the best ones. And even Illusory Green Wing could be a keep. Don't get baited into keeping Quality Assurance, especially when going first, it's not that hot. On the coin, the situation is similar, but here I'd say the Quality Assurance makes a little bit more sense, because if you go at turn 3 Illusory Green Wing, on turn 4 you could try to fish them out straight out. For other good warrior decks, this is the one I'm showing you. 8,000 games, almost 59% win rate, but we can definitely say Quest Warrior is an amazing deck right now as well, even though here's the best version of it from Diamond to Legend. 1,600 games, 57-ish% win rate, but in Top Legend you're definitely gonna see a lot more Quest Warrior than Dragon, I can tell you that much. Here's another very populated list. Both are doing very great right now, and we can scroll a lot further to see plenty of iterations of those two basically. Not much else is really happening for the class right now. Dummy Warrior is no longer. Egg Warrior apparently is somewhat of a thing, but not really. And for the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Druid. Imbued Druid is actually looking okay-ish. I've tried the deck. It's pretty okay, not gonna lie. It's not a very amazing deck. It could have some big blowout turns, but it really doesn't have anything other than raw big stats a little bit earlier than usual. Taunt Druid, however, definitely felt super fun for me and very strong, so if you're into that, you might want to give this deck a check, and again, you could see my guide about it. Here's a bit more more populated Imbue Druid with pretty okay-ish stats. Chrono Druid is also playable, but this is more of a dollhouse Druid if we gotta be honest, and the rest is under 50%, so not worth mentioning. For Hunter, obviously Discover Hunter is amazing, especially in Top Legend, but from Diamond to Legend, the deck is just not easy, guys. The deck is actually pretty hard to master, so from Diamond to Legend there is gonna be plenty of misplays, and also there is gonna be plenty more aggro, and in most cases if the deck doesn't curve off properly with good 2-4 taunts as well as 4 or 6 damage Sylvanas damage AoE, you're not gonna have a very good time with this one. We can also see Face Hunter actually doing quite okay now. This list is running Devious Coyotes and a lot of cheap stuff. There's plenty of iterations of Discover Hunter, some faster than others, and we gotta scroll quite a lot to see Beast Hunter anymore. Here's one, 53-ish% win rate. Kinda okay actually, almost 1000 games, almost 54% win rate. Still playable, but not the menace it used to be. What the hell is even that? Some monkey business hunter apparently. Kinda looks close to a Discover Hunter, but not really because it's not even running Neri. And yeah, the rest is kinda whatever, honestly. For Mage, clearly Protoss Mage is the big outlier here. It has been performing really well in this meta, and it does feel very disgusting, not gonna lie. This new version actually does a little bit more card draw with the Smoldering Grove, and that is gonna help you get more out of your Protoss spells and also get your Protoss stuff faster. You only have a single copy of Youthful Brewmaster, honestly you don't really need much more, and with the help of Chronolord Deos you could be doubling up the Colossus, so that can be pretty nutty. I do have a guide about this one as well, same with Elemental Mage by the way. This is the cheapest legend capable deck out there right now with just a couple of epics and just a couple of rares, and it's definitely pretty fast and strong, but that's about it for the Mage, at least for the good decks. We could see Quest Mage somewhere in there as well as Arcane Mage with the dragons, but they're both under 50%. For the Priest class, Protoss Priest definitely is still popping off with 57-ish% win rate over 1000 games. Zarimi Priest is also definitely very decent right now. It actually used to be one of the top decks the first couple of days after the nerfs, but now it got toned down, and so far Control Priest doesn't seem to be doing much good for anybody. Like, look at this, under 40% win rate for the most part. Bandage Priest still kinda playable, but not really. For Rogue and Top Legend, Psycho Rogue definitely could do you some good. Templar Rogue also apparently is playable, and I've seen people do well with Weapon Garona Rogue still, or some more aggressive Garona Rogues out there as well, but from Diamond to Legend it's just not looking that good. And the last class we're gonna mention here would be Warlock. I really thought Shred Warlock would be shredding in this meta, but that ain't the case for sure right now. Egg Warlock also not amazing. Obviously Quest Warlock is absolutely gutted. People started playing Wallow Warlock, but still with no great success, and that's about it. Rafam Warlock still pretty garbage. And let's just take a quick glance at top 1000 Legend and see what's happening for the last 3 days. Again, mid-range Shaman at the top, but a bit quicker version. Same with Discover Hunter, going with the quicker variants, but the slower one is also still working quite well, even though this one is not running Elise by the way. Quest Warrior, like I said, is pretty cracked over there. Bubble Pally is still pretty solid over there as well. Same can be said for BBU Control Death Knight, and this reminds me I actually forgot to talk about Death Knight, so let me hop back on that real quick. Protoss Mage can be seen over there. Psycho Rogue pretty hard even in Top Legend, and that's about it. And for Death Knight, here's what we have right now. I actually almost did include it into this top 5, so that's why I forgot to talk about it in other good decks. But yeah, BBU Control Death Knight is pretty solid right now, basically Leech Death Knight from the past. But I gotta say, Triple Blood Death Knight also felt really amazing, so you might want to give that a check. I will give you a video about it later today probably. Handbuff Death Knight is actually playable apparently again. I might give it a check because I really did enjoy this playstyle. One Somdi Death Knight is definitely pretty solid still, but you gotta be careful not to go for the super greedy variant because that one is not as good more often than not. And scrolling lower, not that much else going on for the Death Knight class. I did saw some Frost Death Knights here and there, but so far they're not very proven. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. I hope this meta report helps you hit easy legend in Hearthstone, and definitely do check out Raid Shadow Legends if you want to help the channel for free and see how well we're doing over there as well. Thanks for watching. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.